What's up, Midnight Strikers? Welcome back to another classic review. So, I was looking through my uploads earlier today, and I found out something very interesting. I've only done one album review. Yeah, that's right, one album review all year, January 2014, and that was my Iced Earth review. Other than that, it's basically been, versus video here, topic video there, and game reviews. So I am about to rectify this by reviewing one of my favorite albums by my former favorite band, ACDC. And as you can tell right here, the album in question is entitled Powerage. And yes, my case is a bit scuffed up as I've had this record in my possession since I was 14, so roughly about 7 years. So, I've had it for a very long time, really proud of this release, and it is my favorite AC/DC album overall. That being said, it is also very underrated for many different reasons. While there's a lot of guitar-driven songs that are easily accessible to the casual listener, Rock and Roll Damnation, Riff Raff, Up to My Neck in You, Kicked in the Teeth, Sin City, those songs are very accessible. There are also a lot of really bluesy, kind of down under kind of songs, basically. I don't know how else to describe it. Kind of like down under the radar, basically. And they don't really have that much appeal to maybe the standard listener, casual listener, just trying to get into the band for the first time. So I can see why this album is a bit more underrated than it should be, but I kind of still maintain the thought that it is my favorite album, it's their best album, and it also brings in a new bassist, Cliff Williams, into the fold, after Mark Evans left after the recording of Let There Be Rock the year prior. So, basically, to get into it, this album has 9 tracks to it, all of which are just pure hard rock at its finest, what AC/DC is well known for and what they do best, pretty much. And this is the core lineup that would once again record on Highway to Hell and their live album, If You Want Blood, You've Got It, which stands today as my favorite live album of all time. So AC/DC have quite a repertoire leading up until this point. Although they weren't as acclaimed by music critics at this point up until maybe the Highway to Hell days, they were definitely performing at their best in this point in 1978. So they had quite a repertoire of songs, although critics didn't exactly favor the drug, sex, rock, and roll themes. Instead, they were more into disco, I suppose. But, then again, I digress. That's a completely different topic, different trends per decade. But when it gets down to why I like this album so much, I suppose it could be the variety of songs. There are a few guitar-driven songs, as I stated before. There's a lot of blues elements, there's some slower songs, and there's some really fast-paced tracks and crazy leads by Angus Young himself. And I really love the bluesy tone that Bon Scott utilizes on this album, as well as kind of the grit that he incorporates in some songs. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about on this record, so let's delve in. So the album kicks off with a familiar tune entitled Rock and Roll Damnation, and if you haven't heard this track already, you should go check it out. It is a very simplistic song with some rhythm already laid out previously, and it just kind of follows the beat of the song per se, and it's got some really awesome sounding guitars, really great production on the vocals and the guitar melodies, and the drums, albeit simplistic, they do stand out on this song. So Phil Rudd is an excellent drummer, although he doesn't really get as technical as, say, Mike Portnoy in the metal scene. So the next one is Down Payment Blues. This one is a little bit slower. Bon Scott sings about, more serious problems, such as paying your bills on time, getting gas, and gold diggers. There's a lot of serious themes on this. This is probably the most serious song on the entire album, and he employs a lot of the grit that I talked about in, previously. So I really like this song. There's not too much in terms of solos or guitar work, but it kind of just follows the beat, such as, Rock and Roll Damnation did previously. The next song is another guitar-driven melody called Give Me a Bullet, and right off the bat you're going to notice a lot of similarities to a future song that they recorded entitled Highway to Hell. Now, Highway to Hell is a bit heavier than this song. It incorporates a lot more grit in Bon Scott's vocals, but this is kind of a slowed down, more melodic version, with Scott incorporating a lot more blues, and he's singing a little bit clearer than he does in the future on Highway to Hell. This is a very good song, one of my favorites on the album, and it's just really catchy, just the way he sings it, and kind of the atmosphere that it provides. So, the next song, number 4 on the list, is entitled Riff Raff. This is my favorite song of all time by AC/DC. Although it contains nonsensical lyrics, it's got a really great bass rhythm section, really fast-paced, with a lot of crazy leads thrown in there by Angus Young. Fuck, I mean, half the song is like one huge solo, with Bon Scott just giving it his all. I mean, some of the times it sounds like he's trying to hold himself back from just screaming it out, just belting it out in the most grit possible, but he still manages to maintain that bluesy kind of undertone to his vocals style. So he's got a really great vocal ability on here. The drums are sound, the guitars just sound crisp and just really appealing to the ear. So the next song is entitled Sin City, another guitar-driven song, probably the slowest song on the album. It's slower than Down Payment Blues, but not as slow as, say, Ride On off of their Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap album. But then again, that is a softer song, so I digress. So this one is a little bit edgier. It's got a little bit more of a serious topic, much like Down Payment Blues, kind of a song about living on the edge and, you know, ladders, snakes, ladders give, snakes take, that sort of thing. It's got really good lyrics, and it's got a really good bass structure. It just kind of follows a linear structure, and it's a little bit more simplistic than songs that we've seen so far, like Rock and Roll Damnation and Riff Raff. But it gets the job done, and it is a very good listen. Albeit, you know, I like the Midnight Special version a little bit better. The live version, where Bon Scott kind of, you know, screams it a little bit more, incorporates a lot more grit into his voice. It just sounds a little bit more powerful. They also play it faster, so that might be it too. Great production on this one. So what's next to the moon? This is track number 6, and if I were to pick a weakest link in this album, not that there are any weak links, but then again, you know, I like some songs better than others, this would be the weakest link. It's a little bit, you know, too slow for my taste, too linear, I suppose, in its structure, but I do like it. It's very bluesy, and I really like kind of the low guitar pitch, but Bon Scott's nonsensical lyrics really just don't fit here. I don't know what he's singing about, but, you know, it's your love that he wants. It's your love that he needs, I suppose. So I don't really know. He goes from that and just, you know, saying what's next to the moon. So I don't really get this song. It's a good listen, but I don't really get it. So if I were to pick a weakest link, it would probably be this one. But then again, you know, that's like saying, singling out the thing that should not be on Metallica. I mean, you just don't do it. So basically, this is a very good song. I really do like it, but I don't like it as much as, say, Riff Raff or Rock and Roll Damnation. Gone Shooting. This is another great bluesy number. This is probably the most bluesy song on the album, and it's got a really simplistic rhythm, very catchy, and you can definitely hear the bass popping out on this track a lot more than on previous tracks, and it's just got a really great rhythm to it. It's really catchy, really fun to listen to. Also very simplistic, so if you like that kind of thing, there you go. Up to My Neck and You, the next track, is a more guitar-oriented. It's driven by its guitars, and it's just really heavy and just kind of hard rock blues at its finest. So I really like it, and the perfect way to end off a perfect album, almost, is Kicked in the Teeth. Now, this is another rocky little number, much like Up to My Neck and You, and, you know, it's really hard, really fun to listen to, and very energetic as well. So it's a perfect closer for this album. So my final rating is a 10 out of 10. I really like this album, and even though I said What's Next to the Moon was a, you know, it wasn't a weak link per se, but I just don't like it as much as the other tracks on the album. But that being said, I still love all of these tracks. It's a great album to check out. Debut of Cliff Williams into AC/DC. So this is Midnight Strike 3625. Keep calm and rock on.